Hey guys, in this video, I'm going to review the Samsung Odyssey Plus. Let's jump right into it. So given the announcement of the Rift S and its unimpressive specs, I think this makes the Samsung Odyssey Plus a worthy competitor for the PC VR market in the $400 range. The Odyssey Plus and the Rift S are very similar in design thanks to their inside-out tracking, which doesn't rely on external sensors but relies on cameras. The one thing that sucks though is that the Odyssey Plus doesn't have the superior touch controllers. It kind of makes up for that with better resolution, anti-screen door effect, and a hardware IPD manual adjustment. So let's stop talking about the Rift S and let's jump right into the Samsung Odyssey Plus and what I think about it. So the first thing I want to talk about is the setup. And let me tell you right off the bat, the setup is simply really simple and really amazing. All you got to do is take the camera and map out your room, and basically you're done. You plug in your USB port and the HDMI cable, and for me, Windows Mixed Reality software already booted up, so I didn't have to even download anything. So this was orders of magnitude way easier than setting up my Oculus Rift. I didn't have to download any software. I didn't have to set up all these sensors, these external sensors, and run cables and make sure my USB ports all work and stuff like that. This was super easy, and I really wish that the original Rift was like this from the beginning. However, there's one caveat with setup, and that's software. So the hardware was really easy, but software can be a little challenging. Windows Mixed Reality was easy to install because I didn't have to install anything, but I had to install Steam VR, and then Steam WMR or Mixed Reality, the plugin. I had to install all this software, and if I wanted to play Oculus exclusive games, I have to install Oculus Home, which is a pretty big installation in itself, and then I have to install Revive. And even to get the Oculus games working, it takes a lot of work. You have to maybe understand the controller bindings between the Oculus touch controllers and the Windows Mixed Reality controllers. So if you want to play native games from Oculus, it's kind of difficult and requires a lot of configuring. I even had to configure some Steam VR games that weren't supported by Windows Mixed Reality. I had to go into the configuration and set up key bindings, which after all this hackling and twiddling around with software, the setup in software land is pretty crappy. So a lot of people have concerns around tracking. Given that the Samsung Odyssey Plus has only two front-facing cameras, you think the tracking wouldn't be very good. But I'm happy to report that the tracking was actually pretty good, and it honestly worked 99% of the times. I was able to play Beat Saber on Expert, and it was having no issues tracking me. Obviously, you can occlude by putting the controllers away from the camera. So if you play games like Lone Echo, which is already hard to play given that you have to go through Revive, just for specific games it wouldn't be very good. However, for most of the games, I think tracking is totally acceptable. It's not perfect, but it is pretty impressive for what it offers right out of the box. And some people reported that it's really difficult to play first-person shooter games, but I was able to play no problem. I was able to reach in my back and take out my pistol and stuff like that. There are no issues with tracking, and overall I'm pretty impressed. So tracking's pretty good. I just have one minor complaint, and it's the headset's actual cord. The HDMI and USB cord is a bit shorter. It's a little bit shorter than the Oculus Rift, so this will limit your room scale experience just a little bit. So the next thing I want to talk about are the visuals, and this is a big one because one of the selling points of the Samsung Odyssey Plus is the higher resolution, the resolution that is comparable to the Vive Pro. Now, when I was playing my Oculus Rift, I didn't really find it that bad. Like, a lot of people complain that it has low resolution and screen door effect, but when I was playing a lot of games like Robo Recall, I never noticed the screen door effect, and I didn't really feel that the resolution was bad in any way. Like, it was totally fine. So coming to the Odyssey Plus, I feel that it wasn't as big as an upgrade as I expected for it to be. The screen does look good. FOV is great, very similar to the Rift. So for me, I don't really see a big upgrade. There was one little thing I noticed when I was playing Beat Saber, was that when I was looking around, the screen was moving around, I noticed that some objects were blurry. So it seems like there's a little bit of ghosting on the panels on the screen that it provides. So the ghosting isn't that bad, and it doesn't distract me from the immersion. So But just something to notice that I didn't notice in the Rift was a little bit of ghosting effect on the screen. Now, for the anti-screen door effect technology, I did notice that there is definitely a lot less. If you look really hard into the screen, you can notice that there's very little screen door effect. And I'm sure if you look at a Rift and you look really hard, you'll definitely see the screen door effect. But when you're playing a game and you're like really caught up in the action, this is something that I didn't really ever notice. So this isn't a big selling point for me. And one more thing about the anti-screen door effect technology they use is that some people reported that it makes the image less kind of blurry or soft on the edges. And I did kind of notice that. So I would like to, I think I might rather have the screen door effect, but preserve the detail of the resolution and of the image rather than have some kind of blurry images. So, but to be honest, it didn't really distract me. So I could go either way. It's not really a big of a deal for me. Okay, so next is the audio, and I think this one is a deal breaker for me. I thought the audio was going to be good. I saw the brand name AKG and like fully immersive surround sound, but man, compared to the Oculus Rift, which uses a very high quality COS driver in their headset, which is now gone thanks to the Rift S. Thanks a lot, Oculus. The sound quality is terrible. The bass is non-existent. I'm playing games like Beat Saber and I just don't feel immersed, and I am extremely disappointed with the audio. Now, it does work, and I think it's better than the Oculus Go, which relies on not using any actual on-ear headset. So it is a little bit better than the Oculus Go, but definitely not better than or even equivalent to the Oculus Rift, the original one. So yeah, I'm kind of disappointed with the audio quality, and the fact that you can't use your own headset. You would have to like hack it to to remove the inbuilt earphones. That really sucks for me. So I don't know. I just can't play with it. It's not as good as the Oculus Rift. So very upsetting. Okay, so let's move on to hardware. Let's talk about the actual headset. So for me, it fits on my face perfectly fine. A lot of people were complaining about the comfort and the ability to get the sweet spot on your eyes so that nothing is blurry. But this was actually a very comfortable headset. Absolutely no issues getting the sweet spot. I actually found that the sweet spot for the lack of blurry image is pretty big. I had no issues. I don't know what people are complaining about. Maybe I have a big head and therefore it's easy for me to put it on. I actually prefer this design over the Oculus Rift. So in terms of the hardware and comfort, it's pretty good. It's not super comfortable. The memory foam included is pretty rigid, but it's definitely fine for over an hour of gameplay, and it's very easy to put on. So good job on the hardware. The physical IPD adjustment is a nice bonus compared to what we're going to get with the Rift S. And this is not really the hardware, but the software experience. I found that having the two cameras and the ability to, at any point while you're using the headset, even in a game, you can just press a combination of two buttons to turn on the flashlight. And I found this feature extremely helpful, because when I'm setting up my play space, I want to make sure that I'm not hitting my my chair or my desktop. I can just turn on the little flashlight and it'll show me the real representation of my current home. So this flashlight feature to show the real life environment is super helpful, and I think it's almost unnecessary in any future headsets that use camera. This is a fantastic, convenient feature. Okay, so the next big one is controllers, and this one is pretty big and kind of a deal breaker for me. I don't think it's as bad as the audio. The controllers, when I first saw them, I was like, wow, this thing is huge, clunky, felt like cheap plastic. I was like, this is nowhere near like Oculus touch controllers that felt really premium in the hands. And at first I didn't like the controls at all. But you kind of get used to them, and they're kind of a combination of the HTC Vive controllers, where there's like a trackpad, and the Oculus Touch controllers, which has a joystick. And the weird thing is that some games require you or are defaulted to using the Vive style trackpad, which I really don't like. I prefer using the joystick to navigate, move around the world. So you have to go into the software and then fiddle with it. And this, begs to my previous point early in the video, how software configuration and playing games that aren't natively supported for Windows Mixed Reality is a pain in the ass. So I don't think it's a controller's fault. I think it's more of the app developers need to support their games and apps natively for this type of combination of a controller. So, you know, the controllers, they feel cheap and are clunky, and they use these LED lights, which are actually kind of distracting. If you kind of look at the LED lights on the controller, they kind of like hurt my eyes because they're pretty damn bright. They also require 2 AA batteries, which is kind of inconvenient compared to having, you know, one AA battery in the touch controllers. So you have to, you know, buy more AA batteries and make sure they're charged. So it's okay. The controllers are okay. They're functional. They're doable. But I think it's more of a software issue. And I think if app developers, game developers improve the support for Windows Mixed Reality, these controllers are, you know, totally fine. I think they can be improved, and I think they should be in future iterations of Windows Mixed Reality if they want to be competitive in the gaming space. And I just want to make one little note about the controllers, and it's the haptic feedback. Now, the haptic feedback, in my opinion, did not feel as good as touch controller, Oculus touch controller's haptic feedback. The vibration and the motor, it just felt kind of weak. Didn't feel like really satisfying when you, like, you know, hit or shoot a gun or whatever, use the Beat Saber, hit a block or whatever. It just didn't feel as powerful, or it didn't, I don't know, something about the feeling didn't feel so good. So it's not that bad. It's okay. Haptic feedback is okay, but it's not as good as touch controllers. Let's talk about software. Now, the Windows Mixed Reality Home, which is similar to the Oculus Home, is okay. It's functional. You can, you know, play. You can see video content. You can browse through apps, but there isn't a lot there. So you probably want to use Steam VR. And what I find annoying is that it's kind of difficult to launch apps within Windows Mixed Reality Home. You get a desktop app which renders your desktop, but the desktop is pretty blurry because it's like a high resolution desktop. Everything is kind of hard to click. You have to like navigate to a small point and double click your Steam VR app. So I wish it was easier to launch desktop applications from within Windows Mixed Reality, but you can easily just double click the icon prior to putting it on your headset, and that'll launch the app, and then you can go right into it. Now, I did try Revive, and I was able to play Lucky's Tale, and it worked out. Like, I was pretty impressed. I just don't want to have to go through all these steps to download Oculus and download Revive, and, you know, there might be an off chance that an Oculus exclusive game doesn't map well to the controller that you have, or it's the frame rate is kind of choppy. So unfortunately, there are a lot of Oculus exclusives that I want to play, and Windows Mixed Reality doesn't offer that. So using Revive it's a solution, but for me, it's kind of a janky solution, and I prefer not to do that. So this is my personal preference. If you're okay with the Steam VR games, you'll be fine, but for me, this was kind of like a deal breaker. So in conclusion, to wrap this up, I think the Samsung Odyssey Plus is a pretty decent VR headset, especially if you can get it on sale. I really think the strong points are the amazing display, the ease of setup, not having to set up external sensors. You have the inside-out tracking. I think some of the cons is obviously the inferior controllers compared to the Oculus Touch, and the lack of support for, you know, quite a few games out there. Obviously, getting Oculus exclusive games is going to require some hacking or some extra steps. So if you are not patient and don't want to do that stuff, I don't know if it's the recommended headset for you. I think that if you're coming to the VR, to the VR world for the first time, I think the Samsung Odyssey Plus is a very good start. But given that the Rift S is coming out and it offers similar ease of use with the setup, and you really want to play Oculus exclusive games, I think you're better off going with the Rift S. But honestly, it's a toss-up for me. I don't think I can deal with the Odyssey Plus, given the poor audio quality and the lack of Oculus support. So I think I'm going to go with the Rift S, and I hope that it works out pretty well for me. Anyways, I think that's it for this video. Those are just my thoughts and opinions about the Samsung Odyssey Plus. Let me know what you think about it down in the comments, and please give a like if you like this video, and consider subscribing to this channel if you want to hear more VR related tech reviews. See you in the next video.